happy hump day to everybody out there as we head into the weekend. My name's Nick Ogden. For those guys out there who don't know me, I'm very proud to be the leader of the amazing business Beepo, and of course with me I have the amazing Michael Sheargold. Good morning, Michael.
Hey Nick, great to be here.
Fantastic. So, Michael, I'm going to give you a big wrap here. You're one of Australia's best business coaches, and we feel incredibly lucky to have you with us this morning. And not only as a speaker, but also as a highly valued client of Beepo as well. Now, Michael, you specialise in helping businesses of all sorts, actually, a really wide range of different business leaders, and helping them take their business performance to that next level. And you've got what I love about the way you approach your coaching, Michael. It's very targeted. It's very simple. The strategies are very simple. They're very easy to grasp, but they're so relevant for the business environment that we're in right now. Now I've got to talk a little bit about Beepo and the journey we've had this year, just because the momentum piece is so appropriate. That discussion, I think, and the timing of that discussion is absolutely perfect. Now March, of course, the beginning of the lockdown, the beginning of the COVID craziness was the toughest month our business has ever experienced, actually. So, we're heading into our seventh year now of operation in the Philippines, and it was the toughest time ever. We lost close to 30% of our revenue in 1 month. Really proud though to say since then we've clawed our way back. And it's taken time, and it's taken some lateral thinking, and it's taken some really strong leadership and some strong decisions that we had to make at a corporate level. But here we are, sort of 8 months down the track, and in a really strong position. In fact, we're in a stronger position than we were pre-COVID. But it's all about momentum. We've carried a bit of momentum over the last 7 or 8 months, and one thing we're really keen to do is to carry that momentum into 2021. Super proud of the effort of all of my team, my sales team, our support teams in the Philippines, our leadership team, our accounting and finance teams, really making sure that we're across every single part of our financial part of the business. Of course, such an important part. Momentum. That's what we're going to talk about first here, Michael. So can I ask you, we're talking about strategy today, and a key part of that strategy is momentum. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, Nick, it's a great question. I love the fact that you talk that around. I love to simplify things. Why? Because in my business coaching, I've seen so many people complicate their business model, or alternatively make things so complex. So, you can KPI someone into depression in actual fact. But if you start to get really clear on it, momentum, in my opinion, is the business's best friend. And, we've all had the experience, I'm sure, we've had to push start a car, or at least a stationary vehicle, to get it going. So, the momentum, the simple thing is a body in motion tends to stay in motion. And look, I've got a couple of slides here that I'd love to share with you up front. The rest of it's going to be a little bit Q&A. But I think if we look at a couple of these, it sort of puts us into perspective. We've got the cool 2021 slide that you'd expect me to have. And we want to touch this and ignite it and have it shift our world in many ways. Although what I will say, Nick, we're working with a variety of businesses, and some businesses have actually had growth through this time frame because they've reflected on it, they've changed their strategy, or they've been able to capitalize on it. Now, early on in that sort of March, April timeframe, talking about capitalizing was seen as too opportunistic. So it was to see the opportunity, but watch out being opportunistic with it. What I will say now is, for most businesses and for most team members and leaders, you want to have this mode of and I love this metaphor of windscreen and rear vision mirror. So, it's okay to reflect on 2020, but don't spend too much time on it. Spend most of your time right now looking into 2021. What's the framework? What's the strategy, and so on? And my fundamental belief, I think it actually was in the marketing as well, Nick, is that your team are counting on you to have a direction, to have a brightness of the future, to have a plan and a structure for 2021 that's going to be absolutely brilliant. So rear view mirror, it's sort of, that's how much you're going to look back. But most of the time, what we want to do is have the team looking forward with a brightness of the future as to where it's heading. So on the momentum piece, I do believe that momentum is your best friend in business, and a body in motion stays in motion. And I have to bring up this this aircraft. Qantas, 100 years, and what 100 years it has been. But this is the A380, one of my favorite aircrafts. And up until this year, this is the longest time, Nick, I haven't been on an aircraft for over 30 years. So it's extraordinary. But this aircraft weighs 600 tons on takeoff. That's 450 motor vehicles strapped together and say fly. One of the wings on this aircraft is the equivalent. You can actually park 57 cars on one of the wings, like as a car park. One of those engines is the same as the 737s that fly around domestically. So it's huge. And if you look at sort of the navigation system on this thing, this is the actual cockpit of an A380. There's a few buttons there. But when I really come back to it, I love a business to get really clear on momentum indicators. In fact, I had a session with a client on Monday morning around this, and the session was around recognizing that reflection, all of their indicators were historical indicators that they were utilizing. So what have we sold? What money's turning up in the bank, and so on, all historical. So the flip was moving from historical to literally, what are the lead indicators? What are the indicators that know that we can seriously see that we're actually in momentum? And every business has them. And for me, if you've got between 3 and 5 indicators that you're in momentum, it's brilliant. But it's quite simple. A body in motion stays in motion. So how do you actually make momentum your best friend in business?
It's great. One of the things we talked about, and this isn't something we discussed the other day, and you and I met earlier in the week, and I mean, we could have talked for hours, of course, about, and we had a limited time slot, but we're just running our current NPS. So we're running our current customer satisfaction survey. We do it biannually, and it's really great for us, actually. It's a really great, not only it touches on every area of our business, of course, because everything feeds into our client satisfaction, but we're getting the early results through. Really proud of the way that looks. But one of the key themes in there is communication. I wanted to talk a little bit more about that and the importance of communication on both sides. And I think there's a key piece for internal team member communication and within your team, but also with your clients as well. And you spoke about momentum, and one of the things is everyone sort of pulling in the same direction. So could you talk a little bit about the importance of clear communication?
Yeah, Nick, this is, and you probably get, I love metaphors and perspectives with this. So, the bricklayer story, and I almost always talk about this with a leadership team and the owners of the business. So I go and ask the first bricklayer, what are you doing? I'm putting a brick in the wall. The second bricklayer, what are you doing? I'm creating a wall. The third bricklayer, I'm actually creating a cathedral. Now, the interesting thing is the action step that the 3 of them are taking is literally putting a brick in the wall. One is purposeless, one has some purpose, I'm building a wall, and one has massive amounts of purpose, I'm creating a cathedral. So it is the role and responsibility of the leader, and the leadership premium is so exceptional in business today. And I fundamentally believe that your business won't outperform the leadership of the business. So, work on you as much as you work on your business. And a lot of the time leaders forget that. One of my clients in the US, he said, look, this is where I want to take my business. And I realize I'm not the leader for that business yet. So I'm going to work on my skill set to get there. It's a very rounded view around it, as opposed to, well, your business isn't going to get there unless you get there. By the way, if a business outperforms the leader, I almost guarantee the leader will bring it back into line with it. So it's that ongoing process. So the first thing is, who am I going to be as a leader? And then secondly, what's the quality of that communication? And we cannot not communicate. So if a leader thinks that, during this year, well, I haven't been communicating with the team, that's communication, because they're going to make up stuff around it. So we want to lead with communication. We want to let people know. My belief is between now and the end of this year and an early start to next year, we've got to literally turn around and say, where are we up to? What do we actually want to achieve? Now, I run with 5 components around helping in the planning process. And the first one is themes. So what are the themes we're going to run with in terms of in 2021? Now, you might have an overall theme for the year. So it might be the year of differentiation. It might be the year of service excellence. It might be the year of operational excellence as an overall theme. So everyone's clear that's what we're up to. Or it might be a theme for a quarter or a theme for a month. So if it's, for example, we want to do a data cleanup, that might be a theme for a month or a theme for a quarter. Everyone knows that, everyone's across it, it's in the conversation and so on. The second one is projects. And probably the biggest issue around that is quite often there's too much noise with projects. So we're attempting to do too many things and we end up doing them poorly. So me as a leader gets up there and say, guys, we're going to do this. And there's a bit of an eye roll from the team because I've said we're going to do this and it hasn't happened, it hasn't happened, it hasn't happened. So I'm all about let's do less things better. And by the way, we'll have our shopping list of projects, but let's put 3 in place, let's put 5 in place and get some serious momentum going with those. Next category is quick wins. We love quick wins. Quick wins are quick. So, I can almost guarantee by the end of this, the leaders who are tuning in will have a shopping list of quick wins, things that they can change instantly. I did a 90-minute sales strategy session with a team this morning, and they said, I can't believe how many quick wins there are. No project, you can implement it today, you can start getting value out of it straight away. Next is investigates. So investigates is, we're going to investigate this. It's not a project yet, but we're going to investigate how we could go about this and putting this in place. So we've got themes, projects, quick wins, investigates, and the final one is cleanups. And quite often leaders don't want to talk about cleanups, but what do we need to clean up? And we might have to have a cleanup conversation. We might have to not only do some re-recruiting with the team, but we might need to do some de-recruiting with the team to clean up some energy. Or it might simply be the cleanup is, hey, I want to apologize to you. I haven't been clear on my expectations within your role. Let's clear this up. And the ultimate conversation for me that when I'm working with the team is the umbrella is, what is the best way of us working together? And the more we can focus on the best way, the better results we'll actually produce in terms of creating momentum.
Yeah, it's super important for the leaders to be honest and transparent too. A lot of the time these projects that need to happen are driven by the needs of the business, and it's so important to share that piece of the puzzle with complete transparency and honesty, and so everybody is able to pull in the same direction. I think when you get that uncertainty about projects and why we're going in that direction, you have a bit of this happening within the team, and consequently things don't go as well as they should.
And Nick, on that point, almost always when a change is coming, as humans, we tend to focus on what we're losing than what we're going to gain. So one of the strategies when a business is going through a change process, okay, so what are the team thinking about losing? Okay, what are they going to gain? And we've got to help directionalize their thinking towards the gain, the value add, the improvement that's going to occur as a result of this particular change. And one of my clients has a great saying, and that is, change is messy, then it's beautiful, embrace the mess. So it's going to get messy. If you're doing a garage cleanup, guarantee halfway through the garage cleanup, it's going to be worse than when you started. If you stop then though, it is not a good look. So you've got to work through it to get to the other side of it actually working remarkably well.
Yeah, and projects are like home renovation projects too, aren't they? It's easy to start the next project before you finish the ones that you're currently working on. It's so important to tick them off and make sure they're completed before we go off into.
Nick, you're getting fairly creative there.
There's the perils of someone who talks with their hands.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I do, but I've got the mic over there, so it's running through that process.
Now, earlier in the week we caught up and we spoke about the big 3, and I absolutely love this. Can you talk us through the big 3?
Yeah, absolutely. So these big 3, from my point of view, are what I'm most focused on working with clients. So the first one is growth, the second is profit, and the third is lifestyle. And why are those 3? So, my goal is, how do you create a better business? How do you actually create a better life? And sometimes we've got situations where owners of business and entrepreneurs think the more successful my business becomes, the less personal time I have, the less my lifestyle suffers. And clearly that's not a good plan, because at some point in time, the business leader, the business owner, becomes frustrated and a grumpy bum with their business. And when you bring that frustration in, guarantee you're not going to make a great decision and come from a great place. And back to communication, Nick, that we talked about earlier, if you're in a frustrated state, almost guarantee the quality of your communication to team will be coming through that filter of frustration. So growth, the natural state of a business is to grow. It's one of my fundamental beliefs. And even though there might have been a need to realign this year, almost think of this as the winter to shed some things to allow for a spring growth spurt. And I believe 2021 for a lot of businesses is going to be that spring growth spurt, not because of the market, but because of what the businesses do. You know, I talk about there are two markets. There's this market in here and there's a market out there. This is the more powerful marketplace than that one. And when we align this, we'll start to actually build that. I also believe that sometimes you can actually get into this turnover being the exciting thing in business, but you also want to make sure there's enough left over. And, you know, many times I've had clients say, I've gone to my accountant and they said, I've made all this profit, but I can't find it. So you want to make sure that not only you have great growth in the business, but also it's delivering profitability. Now, if you're Twitter or one of those kind of organizations where profit's not that important, as long as we're growing and the share price is actually doing the right thing, well, it's different. But the balance between growth and profit are two very important ingredients to get right in the business. And then, of course, lifestyle. You know, you've got your business style and you've got your lifestyle. So, you know, work style, business style. Let's get those two things working incredibly well together. So life, you're not going on holidays to recover. You're going on holidays to enjoy the next part of the journey. And a lot of people get it set up that holidays, the purpose of a holiday is to recover from what's happened in business. No. You want to set it up so you're enjoying what you're doing. I'm not a great believer in I've got to have balance in every single day for it to be, you know, to tick the box. But you want to look back over a month and say, hey, I've had a lifestyle that's really served me, served my family, served my friends in a way that I'm feeling great about it.
Yeah, it's perfect. And to pick up one of your first points there around growth and around leaders in particular, often they do the most work. Yeah, and I think the people who care most in your business do the most. And I think sometimes they need to be reminded that that's not necessarily what's best for the business. Working too much is also a thing. And I think sometimes our leaders in our businesses need to be reminded that you've got to take some time. You've got to really focus on yourself. And particularly in the Philippines at the moment, a lot of our leaders are in lockdown still. We're still working under those conditions, and super important for leaders to be able to take out some personal time and really work on that lifestyle piece outside of work. It's equally as important, if not more so. So I love that you put that in the top three, the big three. So that's brilliant to see.
Yeah, and look, I think as you know, part of that leadership premium, leaders need to learn how to evolve their strategy and start to work on higher value work and leave behind operational efficiencies and empower people to be able to do the work. So it's sort of that mode, and I really love the sporting metaphor of, okay, we're playing soccer, or we're playing cricket, or we're playing basketball. They're different games. They all involve a ball. We're playing tennis, but they're all different in terms of the way they play. So you get clear on what are the boundaries and communicate those boundaries remarkably well, and then say, go play, go and actually perform on the soccer field, you know, on the rugby pitch. So whatever it is, the team actually knows where that's at. Now, a big thing that I work a lot with leaders on is the empowerment actually needs trust to go with it. So I'm empowering you and trusting you to do a great job. By the way, will there be some alignment needs? Yes. And last time I checked, Nick, you know, I mean, given you and I have never made a mistake, it would be, you know, inappropriate to think a team member would make a mistake. Ha ha ha. So the reality is it's how do you actually play the learning game with that and say, hey, as long as we're getting smarter faster, then great. And in terms of low value work, I'm very, very happy to have clients do low value work, providing they're leaving a system behind. We might get into that in more of a conversation, but if you're doing the low value work for the sake of doing the work, what you're really doing is doing something that's totally within your capability, but you're ultimately avoiding the higher value work that will actually allow your business to progress, evolve, and develop. And that's very, very key in the process.
Absolutely. Now, one of the whole, I want to talk about your big five next. We're talking about the big three. Now, particularly on strategy here, I want to talk about the pillars, the
Yes.
5 pillars. Now, your 5 key pillars for strategic growth.
Yeah. So what have we got? We're focused on delivering 3 things: growth, profit, and lifestyle. So they're actually in there. So how do you do that? And if you think of your business as a platform for growth, as a platform for profit, as a platform for lifestyle, there are 5 key pillars that underpin that. And these are the ones that will build momentum, that put you into a mode of that certainty for growth. By the way, occasionally, I utilize the figure 27% per year. So if you grow at 27% per year, Nick, you double your business in 3 years' time. So for some people, when we talk, say, let's 2x your business or let's 3x your business, they go, oh no, that's a bit too fast. Well, just can you focus on, and I up it slightly to 30%, so 30% per year. So we go screaming past the 27%. All of a sudden, you're doubling your business every 3 years. And that, for a lot of people, is that comfort kind of mode. Now, of course, if someone's in a tech mode or in a startup mode or has the ability to have fast growth, then that's brilliant. What I will say is these 5 pillars are fundamental no matter what speed of growth that you want to achieve. And the first one, as you've identified, is strategy. And strategy for me answers the question, what's the plan? So, if I'm sitting with you as a leader in terms of BPO and say, so Nick, what's the plan? That should be able to be clear, concise, and communicated and understood by everyone in the team. And I occasionally do this where I'm working with the leadership team offsite in a boardroom somewhere. And I say, so is everyone clear on what the plan is, what the vision is, where we're heading? And they go, oh, yes, of course they are. So, okay, let's ring them. So I grab my mobile phone, put them on loudspeaker and ring, phone back to the company. And I say, hi, I'm just here with your leaders. Just wondering what's the game plan? Where are you heading? What do you actually want to achieve? I'll put you through to someone else. So I get transferred 2 or 3 times. And finally, the leaders say, okay, I get it. We think they're clear, but are they actually clear on what the strategy is? And look, I'm big on a 1-page plan. There's a 1-page plan on our website at michaelsheargold.com that you can jump on and download. And that really helps with that. The other tool that's there at the moment, Nick, is a SWOT analysis tool. And it goes in a little bit more depth than, SWOT simply means strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Now is the perfect time to do some resetting on that, get some leadership, key people in the business together and say, okay, what are our strengths? What are our opportunities? What are our weaknesses and what are the threats? And how do we capitalize on that? So the SWOT navigation system is in place there. But I'm big on a 1-page. And ultimately, the strategy needs to be, well, how are we going to deliver value? And Nick, I might just bring up my iPad and just draw this model for you. It's one of our core business growth models. And assuming we've now got a blank screen, awesome. So with strategy in business, you've either got a who are we serving, what is it they want, and how are we going to deliver that? So we start with the who, the avatar of who, or we might start as, what is it that we are best in class in? What are we best in the world in? If this is what we're best in the world, well, who is it that's going to be most interested in that? And then how do we connect with them in the most effective way? So it's pretty simple. And this really, for me, is the delivery model of getting clear on what your strategy is. What is it we're delivering? Who is it to? And there. Now, if we actually wrap around that, is why is that important and what's our why? Simon Sinek kind of mode of getting clear on the heart of we believe this, or this is what we're actually out to achieve. And we bring that into play into a very simple sort of X factor model of, firstly, we've got marketing. Then we've got a selling system. Then we've got a delivering system. And then we've got an ongoing servicing system. So you put this into perspective. And by the way, anyone who's tuned in, you could rate yourself now on those 4, and I guarantee that will tell you what's holding back the strategy from being realized. You might have the best delivery system, but you're not telling anyone about it from a marketing point of view. So you're the secret agent. And in most businesses, you don't want to be a secret agent. You want to be known out there in the marketplace. And then it might be, we're getting a great lead flow coming into selling, but the problem is our conversion, or we might be getting the wrong leads coming in. So our marketing's off in terms of who we're bringing in, because they're not the ideal who for what we actually want to deliver on. So then the selling system, and what's an acceptable conversion in your business to make sure we're now delivering. The key with delivering, I talk about deliver +1 in such a way that we have a wow factor build. So wow, these guys are impressive. And look, word of mouth is known as the best and worst marketing in the world today. I think we can up it now, Nick, to word of mouth, because if I have a great experience, I'm probably going to pop that on social. If I have a bad experience, I'm definitely popping that up on social. So more people get to know about it. And then what's the ongoing servicing structure and servicing framework that's going to deliver this from a long-term point of view? Now, what's interesting with this, to me, serving is selling and selling is serving. And also what's happened because of social is marketing has become closer to servicing. So the mode is, what level of service could I offer my ideal future client before they need my service? So we start to think about the value in this. And my fundamental belief is value, sell. So what's the value framework that we're creating there that have people massively attracted to our business? We're known in the marketplace in a way that we're building amazing momentum from a marketing point of view. And the key thing is, depending on the product or service, we can look at, well, do we want more clients? Do we want them to repeat more? Or do we want them to buy more per transaction? So we play around with that in the process of how we build greater value in this. But Nick, to me, the strategy answers the question, what's the plan? Who are we targeting? What is it we're delivering? Why is that important to us? And then ultimately the ability for us to share that with the team so they can see their why in our why. So they're plugging in, not putting a brick in the wall, not building a wall. My goodness, we're out to create this cathedral, and I'm excited about what we can actually do. Sense of belonging, sense of purpose in how we're heading. There's a lot in that, by the way, Nick.
There is. We could do a whole series of webinars around strategy, alone. And I love the next S, and there's lots of S's in this five pillars. It's one that I feel that FIFO is really strong on. Structure. Organizational structure is one, but of course there's so many different types of structure. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about structure and how important that is.
Yeah. So once we know the strategy is sound and the strategy, the confidence level in a leader, hand on heart, I'm putting this strategy into place. I believe in this strategy. The team believe in it. We can put energy and effort behind it. We believe it's actually going to deliver the result. So what quite often happens though is we forget to put the right structure in place to deliver on that. So the structure has a couple of components to it, but probably the biggest component is the role, responsibilities, and priorities. So let's look at the functional chart as to what we need to deliver on this strategy remarkably well. And sometimes we're too light on that, or we just haven't done the work to be able to say, what is the right structure to deliver the best outcome possible? So a simple example of this, and I might just go back to drawing. It's going to be a simpler diagram than the last one, by the way, Nick. Is something called work value. So, anyone who's on can draw this up. Basically, there is a work value framework that we look at with our clients, and there's high, medium, and low value. Who would have thought? So what quite often happens, and back to that systems component, if we've got a senior people in the team doing low value work, What they are not doing is the high value work. So therefore, this is the first to use tech, to use AI, and to use, outsource, surprise, surprise, outsource team to build that particular framework. So this is, when I say low value, it doesn't mean it's not important. I think sometimes people think low value is not important. Let me tell you, if something goes wrong in this low value work, it has a massive impact on the client experience. But effectively, I put a line across here, a dotted line, and say, look, if a leader drops below there, you are leaving a system behind. You're empowering someone to be able to do that work for you in the future. So you can actually focus on this higher value work. The same deal. One of the things that I'm seeing now is, from an outsourcing point of view, outsourcing is moving into this medium value work, which is brilliant, because once again, it just allows us to continually to rise up. But if we get clear on what is my role, what are my responsibilities, and what are the priorities within that, so we call it the RRP, we can get massively focused. And almost always, Nick, there are 5 key responsibility areas, KRAs, key responsibility areas. So, I quite often will have, with a leadership team or a team, I'll have them actually draw a hand. So here's an example of one that I did recently. And, hand, draw up your hand and say, okay, if there were 5 areas where, if you're performing exceptionally well at those 5, the business will be in momentum, because the fundamental belief, the business doesn't grow, the people in the business grow, and the business goes along for the ride. So we grow the people, we grow the business. And all of a sudden you get clear on what those 5 are per person, then you can performance manage them, then you can upskill them, then you can put the right strategies in place in order for them to be even more successful. But a lot of the times the structure isn't in place, Nick, to deliver on the strategy. So it's this frustrating point between these first 2, that your strategy is great, but your structure is not going to deliver on that. So let's get strategy right. Excellent. Now let's have a look at the structure you need to make sure you're fit for purpose to be able to deliver on the strategy.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. And I think work value it's so important that everybody at every level to think about that within their own role as well. But we spoke about this the other day, and I want to bring it up. And of course, our business feeds into this quite heavily. But I'm glad you touched on AI as well, because we're part of this very large organisation now, the Probe Group, and Probe is heavily invested in the AI space, and we're seeing some remarkable things being done in that space now. It's absolutely incredible, and we really see the power of really clever technology, working with really clever people, just really driving some businesses forward. And of course, it's only going to continue. But you brought up a term the other day, we didn't spend a lot of time on it, but world's best value. And I absolutely loved it. But could you expand on that a little bit for us?
Yeah, so Nick, a lot of the time, and depending on the size of organizations, they're focused on talent within a particular patch, so that immediate patch. But in actual fact, you really don't need that. And I think one of the things that this year has given us is the ability to work remotely or work differently, and to achieve some pretty amazing results. So therefore, am I looking for talent only in this particular area or region, or am I shifting my focus to what's world best value? It's pretty clear that Apple has a factory in Ireland, and they have a factory in Ireland because that represents a world best value strategy. So it's not a case of it's all got to be in San Francisco. It actually is about, well, let's actually play the world's best value kind of game. And now with organisations such as yourselves with Beepo, you've got the ability to hire amazing talent in locations that once upon a time for a business owner was sort of like, that's hard to comprehend. How could that possibly be? So I think leaning into that, having a look at some of the AI in every single industry, because some's emerging, and basically, just like we've got CRM providers, we're going to have AI providers that can actually plug in and start to give some very good predictive or propensity models that start to show out of these 10,000 potential people that we've got on our database or in our influencer circle, here are the 10 you need to call today. Here are the 5 most likely. Here are the 100 that you need to invite to this particular sporting event, because we know that that's going to resonate remarkably well with them. And that's significant when we start to look at where that potentially can head to.
Yeah, and talent. I love the word talent, because our business is full of amazing talent, and increasingly we're seeing the complexity of the work being done on our floor. It's gone like that, particularly in the last couple of years, and really driven by the younger generation. Of course, Gen Y and Gen Z makes up 90. I don't know the exact number, but it's well into the 90s of our team at Beepo, and they're really driving the change in the outsourcing industry, and it's amazing to see. So that leads into my next key point here, is skill set. I'm going to hand the floor to you again, Michael. Can you talk us through the importance with skill set?
Absolutely. So if we go from structure in terms of what's role responsibilities and priorities, and say, well, okay, here are my 5 areas that I am responsible for, is now we can say, with a team member say, well, where is your skill set at with that? Is it underdeveloped? Is it developing, or is it developed? So I like the color code system of green, amber, red. So have you got a green skill set in this area, an amber skill set, or a red skill set? Now, if you've got a red skill set, there's going to be one or two things happen. Either we need to change it, or like if someone had red on all of this, my biggest advice would be this person is not suited for this role, or unless they're actually in a major growth curve in terms of building their skill set, there's going to be a lot of frustration in terms of delivery of what their role is all about. But if we go for those 5 key points and say, well, this is what you're out to achieve, where is your skill set at? And then from a learning organization point of view, I love to put mindset and skill set together. So what's your mindset around it? And occasionally I've seen situations where someone's had the skill set, but they haven't had the mindset. They know what they need to do. They know how to do it, but they're not actually putting that component into play. And, we have 5 key questions we ask around team, and that is, do we have the right people? Are they motivated? Do they know what to do? Do they know how to do it? And is the environment right for achievement? So this is a nice checklist to look at it. And occasionally I've had situations where someone's come in and said, Michael, can you run a sales training program with the team? And I'll ask, do you have the right people? And they say no. So why on earth would we run training courses with the wrong people? We're better off to get the right people to be able to do that. And occasionally we'll say, well, I think good training the wrong people is going to be better than no training at all. So, well, you could be right there. But we're better off to start with the talent once again, and then build that skill set on top of. This also goes into the level of dialogue as well, Nick. And many times, we've all heard a good joke told badly, and it was the way it was actually relayed. And one person can ask a client this, another person can ask a client this, because they ask it in a different way and gets a massively different outcome. In fact, I shared this morning, 84% of believability on the phone is not what you say, it's actually the way you say it. So understanding that is very, very key.
Yeah, it's such a great life skill. It's actually something in our last webinar that we just ran. We recently ran a how to nail an interview for people out there that are really going through that process. And quite often we see people fall at that last hurdle of getting in front of an Australian client, not being able to nail that last piece. And it's about asking questions and engaging in conversation. And it's credible how just asking a question in a slightly different way can lead the conversation into such a different direction. And it's a skill that we teach a lot of our internal team members, and indeed people that are coming through the ranks and trainee programs as well. So something, once again, we could talk a lot about offline. But let's go into the next S on your list, standards.
Yeah, standards. So a lot of the time when someone new joins an organization, look, most organizations are significantly better than this than they've ever been before. And I think, Beepo, you guys are great at it. When someone joins, occasionally I've seen, well, just get used to us and hang out for the first little while and you'll figure it out kind of thing. And it's sort of like this, I'll learn by osmosis. There's no question, culture is caught, not taught. That's an absolute fundamental. But I think one of the challenges can be with this is that if I've been playing basketball and we're playing soccer, there's some different rules to the game, some different standards. So even though someone might come from the same industry or a similar industry, what we need to do is say, here are the boundaries of the way we're going to be playing the game. And if you've got an experienced team, the best way of doing that is have the team input to those standards. If you're in a startup kind of a mode, or there's a couple of experienced people, what you're better off doing is to sit down with those experienced people and say, let's agree on what these standards are. And this is everything from response time to phone calls, to what's the greeting process, to how are we going to respond in email communication? What style of communication do we have around it? Do we do a professional friendliness, or are we more formal? What are those standards with it? Look, one of the amazing organizations that I think have done a brilliant job of this is the Ritz-Carlton, globally. And they have a motto called "We are ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen," and below that they have 12 service standards, and everyone has to have these on their person. They've got a little card. They've got to have it with them always. And globally, in the Ritz-Carlton organization, I spent some time with the former president of Ritz-Carlton, and he talked about globally across the entire organization. If you're at the front desk, if you're in banquets, if you're in hospitality or housekeeping, across the entire organization, that morning in your morning huddle, you will talk about the same one of those service standards, either how you applied it yesterday or how we can take it to another level today. So this isn't about having standards and sitting them in the bottom drawer somewhere and say, oh, tick, we've done that. Is how do you make them live, Nick? How do you put them into the organization so you can catch people doing things right, and you can also realign people towards the standard? Hey, do you remember this? So, McDonald's, whether we like the food or not is irrelevant. They've got 14 and 15-year-olds running the frontline service of a global organization. These same kids don't clean their bedrooms up at home. We've got to put this into perspective. So, a normal food retailer, the manager says, you're not smiling, you should be smiling, you better start smiling, right? Opinion. At McDonald's, the manager comes up to one of these 14, 15-year-olds and say, do you remember what standard number 3 is? Oh yeah, that's smile first to the customer. Yeah, you're right. How do you think you're doing on that? I think I can improve. You're on the money. Let me check in an hour's time and see how you're going. It's a totally different coaching process because the standard is there upon which to build it on. And look, I prefer standards than policies because you can do better than a standard, whereas a policy tends to stop you at that particular level.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. I absolutely love that. And it's something that's measurable too. It's something we can always come back to, and something that can be at the forefront of all of our minds at all levels of the business as well. And we talk about our key stuff at FIFO. Well, we have 56 internal team members, and they're all as important as each other. Everyone has a role to play, and everyone's got to pull in the same direction to take this business to where we want it to be. So it's absolutely brilliant. Now we talk about this one a lot. The last S on your list, we have a continual focus on people focus, continuous improvement policy on people, process, and technology. But it leads into the last point on your S list, systems.
Yeah, systems. So we'll look at where we've come from in terms of these 5 pillars so far. We've got our strategy in place. We've got our structure in place. We've now got the skill set and mindset in place. And now we've got the standards in place. We're in some serious momentum based on that particular framework. Now we're going to add in here in terms of this final one are the systems, so we can replicate this success and start to scale in a significant way. So, Nick, if we look at this, I've got 2 favorite sayings around systems. And the first one is, if it's worth doing again, create a system for it. So is this worth doing again? The answer is yes. We've got to have a system to do it. And occasionally I'll say to my team is, we don't do much business in the UK, for example. So assuming we're going to run this event, assuming we're going to launch this product or service in the UK, how would we do it? So the smarts have to be in the system, not in the people. So therefore, the more we can build the smarts into the system, the more we can actually replicate and start to build momentum. So if it's worth doing again, create a system for it. The second one is you've either got to remember to do it or have a system to remind you to do it. And which is more powerful, the system reminding you, assuming the system is foolproof? The answer is the system is much better. And look, our mind is incredibly powerful, but it's not particularly good at time. I've got to remember to do that at 10 a.m. on a Monday morning, as opposed to 10 a.m. on Monday morning, the system is going to remind me to actually do that. And a lot of the times, I think business owners can feel that systems and the tech obviously comes into this particular part of the process can be bigger and harder to do than what it actually really is. It's actually pretty simple now, and the amount of tech and systems and flowchart software and so on that's available to have that system in a super smart way. But if you've got the systems in place and the standards wrapped around those systems, the ability for you to have someone come on board that's talent, train them to those systems, build their skill set. Wow, can you actually deliver an amazing, remarkable result? Marketing, selling, delivering, and servicing that seriously builds some momentum.
Yeah, it's great. I think COVID-19 also, we spoke about projects really early on in this conversation. I think lots of businesses had some technology projects that have just been sitting in top drawers for quite some time. I think a lot of businesses really proved to themselves how quickly, when the business needs to, they can really get some of those projects knocked off and actually implemented and actually working well for their business. I think that proof in the pudding was a real kickstart for a lot of businesses in the second half of this year. And of course, what we're talking about today, which is leading into 2021. Now, Michael, we've covered up on so much today, but of course, I feel like we've also only just scratched the surface in terms of the knowledge base that you bring to the table here. So if people want to do more with you, if they want to learn more, and of course, I'm sure everybody does, what's the recommendation? Where should they go?
Look, I think the easiest thing is to jump onto michaelsheargold.com, join our VIP insights, so they'll get regular insights from there. The two tools I'd recommend right now to download is the first one, absolutely, is the SWOT analysis tool. So it will give you, and importantly your team members, a fantastic framework to do a SWOT. And whilst it is one of the oldest and most proven strategies, the effectiveness of bringing a team together and starting to identify themes, projects, quick wins, any investigates and cleanups, it's actually pretty impressive to do. And then the second thing is the business growth plan, being able to have a look at that business growth plan, download that and start to see that as a framework. It's a one-pager. And Nick, I'm big on a one-page growth plan. Yes, we do have the big kahuna, but unless you're actually going for a need for finance or something, you're better off to have a one-pager or getting your plan onto one, maybe 2 pages where you can focus on that and say, here's our strategy, here's where we're heading, here's what we actually have to achieve. And my final point would be around that is just make sure you actually look out 2 or 3 years from now. That might be a long time for some people. It certainly was this year. But come back to this year and then create 90 day races. So you've got these quarterly races in the context of the year. So let's have a race for this. Where do we want to be in 90 days time? Okay, let's actually make that happen. And by the way, can we have a team reward? Can we have a team incentive? Can we celebrate along the way around it? And occasionally we spread that out too long as opposed to keeping it really, really tight. So yeah, jump onto michaelsheargold.com. Love to actually support business owners and business leaders. It's my passion to see people really succeed in business and importantly in life.
Fantastic. Michael, well, I can't thank you enough for your time this morning. It's been a brilliant conversation, and I think it's one that's going to continue on, and we're going to do more and more and more with Michael Sheargold. So thanks again for your time, Michael. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Nick. Absolute pleasure. And to everyone, have a fantastic end of year and a brilliant 2021. Make sure you're looking in through the windscreen and not in the rear vision mirror that often. Thanks, and bye for now.
Awesome, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.